No one expected the sonar to reveal a perfect rectangle, so sharply outlined against the cold silt of the North Atlantic. The Titanic had been mapped, scanned, dissected, and rediscovered so many times that experts believe all her secrets had already risen to the surface. But on a calm morning during an autonomous deep-sea survey, the ocean offered a whisper of contradiction. The screen of the submersible support ship trembled with an anomaly, something metallic, sealed and hidden beneath a collapsed section of the forward cargo deck. It was the beginning of a story no maritime historian had ever dared to imagine. A forgotten garage holding a fleet of classic cars frozen in time for more than a century. From the moment the submersible descended, lights slicing through the haunted blue, the crew sensed they were trespassing into an untouched chapter of history. As pressure climbed and temperature dropped, the sea wrapped the vessel in a suffocating quietness. The pilot maneuvered carefully, gliding along the starboard hull of Titanic's wreck. Its once regal steel, now a decayed sculpture, draped with rusticles like hanging vines of iron. When the submersible reached the anomaly, the spotlights illuminated. A massive door tilted, dented, and half buried beneath a century of sediment. No logs mentioned such a structure. No blueprint displayed it. Yet the steel frame stood unmistakably deliberate. At the pilot's request, the mechanical arms brushed away the silt, revealing ornate rivets and a faded stencil reading Special Cargo Hold, Private Storage. It wasn't a garage by modern standards, but a luxury freight compartment reserved for wealthy passengers transporting personal valuables. What no one expected was what waited inside Dot with a slow hiss of displaced water. The submersible pried open the warped door. A cloud of ancient sediment exploded outward, engulfing the cameras before drifting away like a ghost reluctantly releasing its hold. Then, shapes began to appear soft at first, then sharply defined. The crew gasped. Rows of automobiles, perfectly aligned, slumbered in eerie silence beneath a century of darkness. The first revealed itself like a resurrected relic from a forgotten world. A 1909 Rolls-Royce Silver Ghost, once gleaming with polished aluminum, now coated in rust, sea moss, and delicate laceworks of corrosion. Its lantern headlights were cracked but strangely intact, and the wooden-spoked wheels stood half-buried in a bed of green algae. The leather seats, though decayed, still held the ghostly imprint of craftsmanship. A century underwater had turned the car into something between a memory and a monument. Beside it sat a 1911 Mercedes night touring car, its front grille strangled by colonies of sea sponges. Tentacle-like vines of kelp wrapped around its chassis, as if the ocean were protecting it, claiming it. Even the hood ornament, a once shining symbol of wealth, was now a corroded silhouette coated in barnacles. A giant deep-sea eel slithered through one of the fenders, glancing briefly at the camera before disappearing into the shadows. The deeper the lights reached into the chamber, the more breathtaking the tableau became. A 1907 Renault Type C B coupe, famously similar to the one once owned by millionaires of the era, sat slumped against a wall. Its curved bodywork had become a reef home, taken over by starfish and coral heads that bloomed where paint used to sparkle. Every corner of the car hosted marine life, turning it into a surreal mixture of mechanical artistry and underwater wilderness. Further in, the team spotted something unbelievable: an electric-powered 1912 Columbia Mark 8, one of the earliest electric cars in the world. Its battery compartment was split open, revealing fragile lead plates now fused by calcification. This vehicle, incredibly rare even in museums, had somehow survived the violent plunge without being crushed. Its cabin was preserved just enough to identify the materials. Imagine an invention ahead of its time, spending over 100 years in the deep, untouched by human eyes. But the greatest surprise sat in the farthest corner of the garage, shrouded in shadow, partially collapsed, beneath a fallen beam. At first, it appeared to be another carriage-style automobile, Then the camera zoomed in, capturing the unmistakable signature curves of a prototype Ford Model K Touring Edition, rumored to have been privately commissioned. Historians had speculated for decades about the existence of early experimental luxury, versions produced outside the main Ford catalog. No record mentioned one aboard Titanic. Yet here it was, a vehicle that rewrote automotive history simply by existing. The car, though crushed along the side, still displayed elegant chrome trims now, dulled, warped, and overgrown with thick layers of sponge. The windshield had dissolved long ago, leaving only a jagged metal frame. A family of small red fish swam through the steering wheel, as if guiding the explorers toward the forgotten artifact. The team captured hours of footage, each car telling its own quiet tale. The ocean had not destroyed them completely. Instead, it had transformed them into sculptures, preserving their souls while consuming their bodies. The rust patterns were mesmerizing like bruises frozen in time. Some cars still retained patches of original paint beneath the mineral deposits. Others were almost entirely reclaimed by marine life, merged with the wreckage around them as the submersible moved slowly through the narrow aisles. The pilot narrated observations with reverent awe. The compartment, despite its damage, was surprisingly intact. The walls bore intricate metalwork designs never before seen in Titanic's documented architecture. Evidently, this private cargo hold had been constructed upon request, likely by wealthy industrialists seeking to transport prized automobiles across the Atlantic. Rumors from old passenger diaries occasionally mentioned secret shipments, but no proof had ever surfaced until now. The lighting revealed personal trunks scattered among the cars. Most were too decayed to identify, but one still bore a brass plate engraved with initials, ERM. Researchers aboard the support ship immediately scrambled to cross-reference the name, though the conclusion would require deeper archival verification. Some speculated that it may belong to Edward R. McLean, an American businessman known for acquiring rare vehicles during his travels. He was never officially listed among Titanics. Passengers meaning this discovery might signify shipments stored under discreet arrangements. The chamber felt like an immersive museum curated by the ocean itself. Museum no human had stepped inside for more than a century. And yet, there was a sadness to the scene. These vehicles, once symbols of ambition and modernity, were frozen at the moment of catastrophe. They never reached the roads they were meant to travel, never carried the people who dreamed of them. Their journey ended before it began, sealed. Inside a steel tube drifting ever so slightly, with the undercurrents as the submersible prepared to exit, the cameras swept over the garage one last time. The headlights of the cars, though long dead, seemed to stare back with hollow expressions, as if aware of their rediscovery. Schools of fish circled around the vehicles, weaving through the rusted frames and whispering around the broken wheels. A century of silence had been interrupted, but only gently, respectfully like archaeologists brushing dust from an ancient civilization when the submersible ascended. Its lights dimming as it retreated toward the surface, the garage slid back into darkness. The ocean reclaimed its secret, but the footage, recording every detail, would soon circle the world, rewriting chapters in both maritime and automotive history. Historians, car enthusiasts, and Titanic experts would debate endlessly about the authenticity, origins, and purpose of the vehicles. Theories would multiply, museums would compete for rights to the images, and documentaries would follow. Yet for the crew aboard the expedition vessel, the true wonder was not the fame or the discovery's value. It was the quiet poetry of the moment. To witness those forgotten machines resting in the deep, their elegance transformed by time into haunting beauty, was to glimpse a fragment of history untouched by human hands. The Titanic had offered one last gift, a cavern of dreams rusted, but not forgotten. waiting patiently in the dark until someone finally dared to look.